Part 65. Adorable Baby, The Miracle Doctor is So Awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 641. Suyakiyu turned around pretending to be calm, but after going out, he couldn't help but reveal a silly-looking smile on his face. In the small courtyard, Mrs. Shen was sitting on a wicker chair in the corridor with Shen Yazi in her arms, and Shen Xing was sitting on a stool nearby. Suyakiyu, holding a bamboo flute, stood under the apricot tree and started playing. The sound of the flute is like a good wind breaking bamboo, the snow is clear and jade is crisp, and the moonlight is melting, and the shadows of the sparse trees set off each other, making it more ethereal, clear, and wonderful. Shen Yazi was so drunk after hearing this. Although she didn't understand it at all. Suddenly a drop of tears fell on his face. Shen Yazi was stunned for a moment. Looking up, he saw Mr. Shen quickly wiping his face to wipe away the tears. This made everyone cry. It seems that Uncle Su's flute sound is really full of emotion and touches the soul. After finishing the song, Shen Yazi took the lead in applauding, "Uncle Su played so well." Suyakiyu was a little embarrassed by her straightforward compliment. "What a shame. Uncle Su, please stop being modest." My mother even cried when she heard this. These words attracted a slap from Shen. "What, are you kidding? Why are you crying?" "Oh, okay, I was just blinded." Shen Yazi followed her. The atmosphere suddenly became a little quiet, and Shen Yazi suddenly thought that it would be better to release Taoist He while everyone is here. So, the next moment, a handsome Taoist in white clothes with an immortal air appeared out of thin air in the small courtyard, his steps hanging in the air. Shen Xing was startled and subconsciously stopped in front of Shen and Shen Yazi. "Who are you?" Suyakiyu turned around and looked shocked when he saw Taoist He. Taoist He, following the plot rehearsed with Shen Yazi in advance, stroked his beard and said with a smile, "Ren Taoist He, a poor man, passed by this place by chance and sensed that there is a little friend who is quite destined for me, so I came here to meet her." Shen Yazi agreed shamelessly, "Are you talking about me?" "That's right, I think your little friend is naturally noble, has a wonderful skeleton, and is extremely talented. I wonder if you are interested in learning the art of Taoism with an experienced Taoist." "Taoist priest, my daughter is just an ordinary girl. How can she be as extraordinary as the Taoist priest said? If the Taoist priest wants to accept a disciple, he should go elsewhere." Shen's tone was tactful, but her rejection was very obvious. However, Taoist He only focused on Shen Yazi. "Taoist master, if I practice Taoism with you, will I be able to come and go without a trace, fly into the sky and escape the earth like you?" Shen Yazi asked curiously. Taoist He nodded, "I don't dare to boast about flying to the sky and escaping to the earth, but at least I can keep my body light and healthy, and I can come and go without leaving a trace." "Taoist priest, I want to learn from you, but I don't want to leave my mother and little Xing." Shen Yazi vividly portrays the image of a little girl who is curious about Taoism but does not want to be separated from her family. She felt that if she suddenly wore it back one day, she might be able to have a go in the entertainment industry. Taoist He smiled and said, "My little friend, you are too worried. If you follow the old Tao to practice, you don't need to leave your family. The old Tao can teach you in your dreams." Hearing this, Suyakiyu couldn't help but change his color in horror. He preached in his dream. This was not something that ordinary Taoist priests could do. But why had he never heard of this Taoist priest's reputation? That's right. If a person is an accomplished person, he naturally hides himself in the city and hides himself in the forest. How can ordinary people hear about it? Shen Yazi pulled Shen's sleeve and said coquettishly, "Mom, I want to learn powerful Taoist skills from Taoist master, so that even if bad guys come, Zizi can protect you and little Xing." "Oh, and Uncle Su." Several people were immediately moved. Shen Yazi ran to Taoist He and said, "Taoist master, if I become your disciple, can you promise me something?" My little friend, let's talk and listen. Is there any way you can cure my mother? Taoist. He glanced at Shen. This donor is suffering from tuberculosis. He is not proficient in medical skills, but he has made some achievements in alchemy. This is the Xiang pill that I refined in my spare time. It can greatly alleviate the donor's illness, but if it is cured, there is nothing the veteran can do for the time being. He flicked his sleeve, as if throwing something towards Shen Yizi. Shen Yizi immediately cooperated and took out the tuberculosis in the storage compartment. Mom, look, this is the elixir made by the Taoist priest. He said it can greatly alleviate your condition. Shen Yizi handed the elixir to Shen as if offering a treasure. The next step is to become a disciple. The apprenticeship ceremony is not complicated. Shen Yizi kowtowed 3 times to Taoist He and called Master. Taoist He looked happy. Ha ha ha, okay, today the old Taoist can be regarded as a successor. After you fall asleep, the old Taoist will teach you Taoism again. If you encounter difficulties on weekdays, you can call the old Taoist. Taoist disciples should not be bullied easily. There was a domineering tone in his calm tone. At this point, Taoist He was able to retire. Shen Yizi was about to press the power off button on her bracelet, but something unexpected happened to her. Taoist priest, can you also accept me as your disciple? Shen Xing ran to Taoist He, knelt down and said. Shen Yizi. Taoist He was also a little confused. He had not rehearsed this performance beforehand. Fortunately, he is in existence with rudimentary intelligence and has collected a lot of information about this world in the past few days. At this time, he is still stable and his face is still very calm. You are also a piece of material that can be built, but it is a pity that you are not suitable for cultivating Taoism. Shen Xing's eyes couldn't help but dim. Shen Yizi pulled him up and said, Little Xing, don't be discouraged. My master said that you are a material that can be made and you will definitely be able to accomplish something in the future. Shen Xing cheered up again, but looking at Taoist He's eyes, he was still very longing. Shen Yizi didn't hesitate any longer and immediately pressed the shutdown button and took Taoist He back. In the eyes of Shen and others, they couldn't help but feel surprised that Taoist Tathagata left as quietly as he came. As expected, he is indeed a master of Taoism. He truly comes and goes without a trace. Ahem, Shen coughed. Shen Yizi said hurriedly, Mom, try this medicine quickly. Suyakiyu said, Zhizi, show me the medicine. Shen Yizi handed it over. Uncle Su is a doctor and knows much more about medicine than she does. It would be a good idea to confirm it with him. Suyakiyu poured out a pill, smelled it carefully, scraped off a little bit of the powder, tasted it with the tip of his tongue, and immediately showed a look of surprise. The Xiang pill refined by Taoist He is truly extraordinary. He is right. Although this medicine cannot cure your illness, Xin Niang, it can greatly alleviate it. And the facts have proved this. After Shen took a pill, she said, I felt a breath of fresh air flowing down my throat into my internal organs. My throat was no longer itchy at all, and my lungs didn't have the tearing feeling before. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 642. Shen Xing said, it seems that Taoist priest's medicine is really effective. Zhizi, you are really our family's lucky star. Shen Yizi accepted the compliment without humility at all. As the night grew darker, Sujakiyu had to say goodbye, but before leaving, after some hesitation, he made an unkind request, Gigi, can I take a medicine back to study it? He has never seen this kind of medicine before. After studying it, he may get a lot of inspiration from it, advance his medical skills, and treat Xinjiang better. Just one less medicine is needed. If he didn't research anything, wouldn't it be a big waste? This made him very confused. Shen Yizi thought it was something, and immediately said, no problem, Uncle Su, Just take it. Anyway, as long as my master is here, my mother will let him practice after eating. Next door. A figure as nimble as a monkey jumped over the courtyard wall and sneaked into the courtyard. Just before walking a few steps, the scene in front of me suddenly changed. The originally simple courtyard turned into a gloomy ghost place. There are many ghosts and shadows, and the cold wind blows. Li Miazai raised his eyebrows. The old man has come up with a new trick again. Suddenly, a ghost claw stretched out from the ground, grabbed his ankle, and pulled him down. If he were an ordinary person, he would have been frightened to death, but Li Miazai was not an ordinary person. He pulled out his foot with all his strength and crushed the ghost claw to pieces. However, soon, more ghost claws emerged and rushed toward him in dense numbers, which looked very infiltrating. Li Miazai jumped up, passing between the ghost claws like a breeze, following a specific trajectory, and finally broke out. The eerie scene disappeared instantly, returning to its original simplicity. It turns out that what happened just now was just an illusion created by the formation, specifically to guard against those who came in uninvited. For example, Li Miazai often had to climb over the courtyard wall when he had to go to the wrong door. As he stepped over the threshold, something hit him. He turned his head to avoid it and found that it turned out to be a bone. In the main room, a tall old man with a slender face was sitting at the table chewing meat. The meat is bright red in color, the sauce is full, and it exudes a strong aroma of marinade. The old man gnawed very vigorously, and one bite was a big piece of meat. He nodded frequently while chewing, with a satisfied expression. There is a jug of wine next to it. Take a big sip of meat and then drink another sip of wine. Even a would not change the taste. Li Miazai was so greedy that he rushed over to grab the last piece of meat in the bowl and started to chew it. As a result, another bone hit him, as fast as lightning, pinning him on the spot, unable to move. Old man, don't be so stingy, isn't it just a piece of meat? Huh, there's no meat for sale on this street. It was brought by the family who just moved next door. It's only 3 to 5 yuan in total. I haven't eaten enough myself. You want to take a piece from me? Do you think so? Demi I. Luo Yao Yao, that is, the old man Shi Shiren, took the piece of meat in his hand and gnawed it deliciously. Li Miao pointed her finger at her saliva and said, "Old man, please leave some for me." However, Luo Yao Yao really only left a little bit for him, the little bit between the bones. This made Li Miao feel resentful. It is not a crime to gnaw on the flesh and bones, nor is it a crime not to gnaw. Huh, I'll go find that family and ask for some. Just walking to the door of Shen's family courtyard, I found it was silent inside. Everyone must have fallen asleep. Forget it, let's come back tomorrow. Early the next morning, Shen Xing got up, made breakfast, and was about to go out to find work. When he opened the door, he saw a man standing at the door of the courtyard. Who are you? What are you doing in front of our house? Li Miazai grinned, showing his big white teeth. Hey, hello, I live next door to you. Li Miazai, you can just call me brother Li. Well, I want to ask, do you still have the braised pork cubes you sent yesterday? Is that okay? I won't eat from you for free, I'll buy it with you, okay? At this time, Shen's voice came from inside. Xiao Xing, who is here? Shen Xing pointed to Li Miao. You wait here, I will ask my mother. Okay, go ahead. Shen Xing ran in and told Li Miazai about his purpose. Shen scolded him, you kid, how can you let people stand at the gate of the courtyard? Go and invite him in. After Li Miazai came in, he saw Mrs. Shen wearing a hijab. He was stunned for a moment and hurriedly greeted her, sister. Brother Li, we have some braised pork cubes left at home if you like, just take them. Where can I buy them from my neighbors? Li Miazai was overjoyed when he heard this. How can you be so embarrassed? I still have to give you money. He took a large bowl of meat from Shen Xing, dropped a piece of silver and ran away. That silver looks like 2 or 3 tails. Xiao Xing, go and return the silver to others. However, after Shen Xing left, not only was the money not returned, but he was also stuffed with a bowl of wontons. The wontons are steaming hot and fragrant. Shen Xing couldn't help but sniff, feeling hungry again. Shen looked at the wontons and smiled helplessly, that's all. If we make something delicious in the future, just send more over. As soon as Shen Yizi got up and came to the main room, he saw the bowl of wontons on the table. He immediately ran over, leaned on the edge of the table and climbed onto the chair. Little Xing Xing, did you make wontons this morning? It's so delicious. A bunch of hair on her forehead is still sticking up, which makes her chubby face look silly and cute. Shen helped her smooth her hair and said softly, this is from the house next door. Are you hungry? Xiao Xing, bring another bowl and share it with Zizi. Shen Xing divided the wontons into 3 parts, one for each of mother and son. Shen Yizi took a sip of the soup first, and his eyes lit up, Mom, this soup is so fresh. When the wontons entered her mouth, she was amazed again. The filling was made of pure meat, but it was extremely tender and elastic. She took one bite and the bottom of the bowl quickly reached the bottom. Shen Xing analyzed it from a professional point of view. This soup should be simmered with pork ribs and old hens. The floating oil has been skimmed off, so it is particularly clear and moist. The fillings in the wontons and the tendons of the meat have been picked dry. It's clean and tastes so smooth. Shen Yizi couldn't help but nod his head. Shen was so funny that she took a spoonful of soup into her mouth. Yesterday we sent braised pork cubes, and today they just returned wontons. It seems like neighbors should move more among themselves. Shen Yizi put down his spoon and said seriously. Shen Xing said, Brother Li also wants to use money to buy braised pork cubes from us. When Shen Yizi heard this, he hurriedly asked what was going on. After listening, he fell into deep thought. Mom, little Xing Xing, you said our braised pork cubes are so delicious that Brother Li didn't hesitate to buy them with money, so what about us? Why don't you just make braised pork cubes and sell them? Shen Shi and Shen Xing looked at each other. Shen Xing suddenly punched his fist and said, Mom, I think the method Ji said is feasible, so that we can have a long-term business. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 643. Shen said, doing business is not as simple as you think. First of all, if you just sell meat pieces, not many people will buy them. After all, there is not much meat on the meat pieces. Mom, we can also sell other things, braised chicken wings, braised tofu, braised meat, braised lotus root, we can braised everything for sale, Shen Yizi said, flexing his little finger. When Mrs. Shen heard this, she felt suddenly enlightened. Yes, meat and vegetables can be marinated. As long as we still have the marinade, it will be no problem. However, the money in our hands is not enough to open a shop, and it's not convenient for me to show up. Xiao Xing can only look after the shop. He has to make stewed vegetables and sell them. How can he be busy? Shen Xing's eyes flashed. Mom, we don't need to open a shop. We can learn from those salesmen and walk the streets carrying burdens. I am strong and can definitely do it. Zizi, just follow me and collect the money for me. She doesn't have the brain power. He scratched the back of his head naively. Shen Shi chuckled and touched Shen Yizi's head. That's true. The 3 of them, mother and son, got together and discussed many details. They had a meal at noon and started working in the afternoon. Shen is still the commander-in-chief, only talking but not doing anything. Shen Xing, as the head chef, handles all the braised vegetables. Shen Yi knew that people were weak, so he acted as a special operations personnel, doing chores such as washing vegetables and lighting fires. Three of them are very motivated. In the yard of Shen's family, bursts of aroma of braised food can be heard, which makes Li Miazai next door very greedy. After eating the braised pork, he ran to bed to catch up on his sleep, but was awakened by the smell. Can't sleep anymore. Simply got up and sat down on the wall with a slight jump. Xiao Xing, your family is in. Shen Xing raised his head and saw Li Miazai sitting on the wall. Oh, brother Li, our family is preparing to make braised meat to sell. Hey, it's okay. I can't praise the braised pork cubes you made. It's so delicious. I haven't had enough of the big bowl in the morning. When you're ready, call me and I promise to be the first one to come. Support. Thank you very much, brother Li. As Shen Xing spoke, he still kept moving his hands, stirring the marinade in the big pot in circles. Since there were too many braised vegetables to be made, he built a simple stove in the yard and used the same pot of marinated vegetables from yesterday. The older the marinade, the better, so after stewing the meat yesterday, he packed it in a big clay pot and saved it for later. I didn't expect to use it again so soon. Li Miazai was sitting on the wall, constantly inhaling the fragrance, his expression rippling. Finally I couldn't bear it anymore and jumped down. Xiao Xing, do you want my help? Shen Yazi took the lead and said, yes, brother, help me get a bucket of water. There are free coolies, why not use them? At worst, I'll give him some braised food as reward. I'm sure he will be very happy. Li Miazai turned around and noticed Shen Yazi squatting by the well washing his hands. She was already short, but she was squatting again and her body was blocked by the edge of the well. He really didn't see her just now. Yo, Xiao Xing, is this your sister? Well, Zizi, this is brother Li. Li Miao pointed out that Shen Yazi's little face was round, white, and tender, and her big eyes were twinkling. She couldn't help but like it in her heart. She groped around on her body and actually took out a jade bracelet and handed it to her. Come on, take it. That jade bracelet is all green and gleaming, like a condensed blue spring. It is definitely worth a lot of money. He actually gave her a little girl he had just met. Shen Yazi shook his head, brother, this is too valuable, I can't have it. If my brother gives it to you, keep it. Li Miazai put the jade bracelet on her wrist. It turned out that it was more than a circle or two too big, so I couldn't help but say, you should put it away first, and you can wear it in a few years. It will look good. Without giving Shen Yazi a chance to refuse, he walked to the well and started to fetch water for her. Shen Yazi touched the bracelet and said, forget it, just take it and return him a big gift when the time comes. There are a lot of good things in the system mall. With the addition of Li Miazai, a strong labor force, Shen Xing and Shen Yazi became much more relaxed. Having been busy all afternoon and most of the evening, several pots of braised meat have been piled up. Before leaving, Shen Xing packed a large bowl of braised food for Li Miazai to take back. Shen Yazi saw that he was really happy, as if he had gotten a big deal. I'm going back, and I'll come to help you tomorrow. Li Miazai jumped up the wall with the bowl in hand and returned to his yard. Have a good night's sleep. Early the next morning, the three Shen family members began to get busy. Shen Yazi was also very excited and didn't bother to sleep in. Shen Xing put the 2 pots of braised meat into a large basket and covered them with bamboo caps to prevent dust from falling into them. For those selling food, cleanliness and safety are the first priority. Then, he effortlessly picked up the 2 baskets and walked around the yard. Shen Yazi carried a cloth bag that Shen had sewn for her overnight. The bag was embroidered with flowers and birds. It looked delicate and cute. She liked it very much. There are 2 layers inside. On one layer, Shen packed her food, and on the other layer, she put a thin shirt. If you get cold, take out your clothes and put them on, you know. Well, mother, I know. There is also a hidden pocket in the bag, which is used to store money. Shen gave her a pile of copper coins that she had exchanged and put them in it. Shen Yazi took a few steps and felt quite relaxed. Shen Xing also hung a water bag on her body, and a bamboo stool was hung on one end of the pole to give Shen Yazi a rest in case she got tired along the way. Mom, let's go. Shen sent the two brothers and sisters out of the alley, still worried, and kept watching their figures disappear into the crowd. Little star, where can we sell it? Shen Yazi looked at the legs all over the street, raised his head and asked. Let's go to the major restaurants first. There are a lot of people eating there, and the guests have a lot of spare money, so they should be interested in their braised food. In the small alley next to Penglay Pavilion, there are various vendors gathered, most of them selling food, such as wontons, soy milk, fried dough sticks, steamed buns, noodles, sesame cakes. There are no less than 20 or 30 kinds of them, and the various fragrances are mixed together and spread far and wide. Full of fireworks. Shen Xing walked in with Shen Yazi and found a place to stop. After he put down the burden, he asked Shen Yazi to sit on the bamboo stool, and then squatted on the side. When he saw someone passing by, he asked, Auntie, do you want to buy braised meat? It's fragrant and cheap. Stewed flavor? What? Have not heard. The aunt shook her head and walked away. Shen Yazi sighed. Little Xingxing's talent in cooking was unparalleled, but in this business, it was not very good. Little Xing, take out the bowl and put a little of each braised food on it. Shen Xing did as he was told. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 644. As soon as the braised meat was put out, people could smell the aroma, and when they saw Shen Yazi holding a large piece of meat and chewing it, they were immediately greeting. Brother, what are these, how do you sell them? An old man came over and asked. Shen Yazi swallowed the meat in his mouth and said crisply, Uncle, these are braised meats, braised chicken wings, braised dried seeds, braised peanuts. Then she quoted the price again. Meat dishes cost 30 cents per caddy, and vegetarian dishes cost 10 cents per caddy. Sir, you can try it first and buy it if you like it. Shen Yazi motioned to Shen Xing to pass the bowl over, with a few toothpicks stuck in the bowl. Convenient for guests to eat. The uncle forked a piece of braised pork and put it into his mouth. As soon as he chewed it, his expression changed. Well, give me a pound of this braised pork. He also tried other braised dried seeds and braised peanuts, and they all tasted good. What's not said, buy it. Uncle, the total is 50 wen. Since you are our first customer today, we will give you a cheaper price, just give us 48 wen. The uncle happily took out the money. Finally, Shen Xing added some extra bits to it. As soon as the uncle left, other people gathered around him and said, give me a taste too. I also want. After tasting it, everyone said it was good. Shen Xing quickly packed the braised food in oil paper bags and handed it over to the guests, while Shen Yazi was responsible for collecting money and making change. The two brothers and sisters have a clear division of labor, but even so, they are still a little confused. A luxurious carriage passed by the street in front of Penglay Pavilion. In the carriage sat a fat and fair boy. He was dozing off, but suddenly he smelled a strong salty fragrance. He immediately became energetic and ordered to the coachman, parking. He jumped out of the car and followed the smell. The book boy followed and shouted, Master, sir, we are going to be late. It's a pity that his master only wanted to eat and completely ignored his cry. The young man came to the alley next to Penglay Pavilion and saw many people gathered in front of a stall. That's right, that smell comes from here. He squeezed in and tasted the various braised foods in the bowl. He was immediately shocked and waved his hand. Give me 2, no, 3 kilograms of each. Shenyazi took a look and saw that he was a very plump and lovable little brother. He was a big customer. Shenxing quickly loaded the braised food for him and handed it over. The young man took it and hugged it. Shenyazi quoted, "It's 510 wen in total. Since you bought so much, I'll give you the change. Just give me 500 wen." Just at this time, the book boy rushed over, and the young man said, "Xiao Shunzi, give me the money." Xiao Shunzi handed over a piece of broken silver, about 1 tael, and Shenyazi found the change and gave him a sweet smile. "Brother, welcome to patronize next time. Hey, this little girl is quite interesting." The young man, Jota, touched her head, smiled and nodded. "Don't worry, if it's delicious, I will definitely come again." Xiao Shunzi tugged at his sleeves. "Sir, we are really going to be late. The first class today is Mrs. Wang's. If you are late, you will suffer." Jota suddenly changed his color when he heard this. "Why didn't you tell me earlier? Hurry up, but in the end you are still late." Jota ran to the classroom panting, only to find that Mrs. Wang had already arrived and was standing on the podium. My heart skipped a beat. I was about to suffer. The prince glanced over slowly. Why did the third prince come just now? Jota immediately made a belly-laughing gesture with a bitter look on his face. "Master, I accidentally ate something bad this morning, so I'm late. Please forgive me." Mrs. Wang swept a bit of marinade from the corner of his mouth and said meaningfully, "Really?" Jota subconsciously stuck out his tongue and licked it. The corner of Mrs. Wang's eyes twitched. "Come in." Jota suddenly felt as if he had received an amnesty, and quickly walked to his seat and sat down. Pei Fei, who was sitting behind him, threw a paper ball over. Jota covered it with his sleeve, opened the book and stood it in front of him, and then opened the paper ball. "Have you come across something delicious again? Let's share it after class." As a friend, how could Pei Fei not know Jota's virtue? Every time something goes wrong, it must be related to eating. This time is certainly no exception. Thinking of the delicious braised food, Jota couldn't help but salivate again, and replied on the note, "It's easy to talk about. Hand the note over with your backhand." Pei Fei took the note, and before he could open it, Mrs. Wang suddenly coughed a few times. He immediately sat up straight and pretended to be in class seriously. Master Wang felt tired for a while and couldn't help but cast his eyes on Gu Switting behind Pei Fei. These three people hang out together all year round. Why is Gu Switting so good? He always ranks first in his studies, and he behaves well in class, never slacking off. Not like the other two. Late for class. Publicly passing small notes. Doze off. It's simply full of bad things. In fact, Gu Switting was not as well behaved and honest as he thought. He was just pretending. Just like at this moment, he seemed to be sitting upright and listening to the lecture, but in fact, he had no idea where his mind had wandered. It's just that he has a unique skill of dual tasking. Even when his mind is distracted, he can still hear every detail of the teacher's lecture. Yesterday I asked you to go back and recite the article "Sunzi encourages learning." How did you memorize it? Master Wang scanned the students below. However, everyone had their heads buried like quails and did not dare to look at him at all. When Mrs. Wang saw them, she didn't know where they were. These people must have never even touched the book when they went back yesterday. But there is definitely one exception. Going on the boat, you have to carry it once. Yes. Gu Switting retracted his wild thoughts, stood up, and said loudly, "The gentleman said, learning is something that can't be stopped. Green comes from blue, and green is from blue, ice comes from water, and is cold from water. The learning of a gentleman is also about entering into the world. It touches the ears, sticks to the heart, spreads over the four bodies, and forms the shape of movement and stillness. that is why the power cannot be overthrown, the masses cannot be moved, and the world cannot be shaken. The sky sees its brightness, the earth sees its light, and a gentleman values his integrity. The whole article of encouraging learning has nearly 2,000 words, but Goose Whitting recited it very fluently, without any stuttering in the middle, and his voice was high and low, full of emotion, and Mrs. Swan couldn't help but nod her head. And in fact, Goose Whitting didn't even look through the book when he went back. When he got the book, he looked through it all and then wrote it down. This kind of photographic memory often makes Pei Fei and Joda envious. Obviously, my friend is just as uneducated as them, but because of his good memory and bright mind, he is admired by his classmates and valued by his teachers. Goose Whitting is recognized as the of learning, and these two scumbags are not worthy of playing with him. Of course, this is just the opinion of others, and the two of them are not aware of it at all. Regardless of whether they learn well or not, they are destined to be rich and wealthy in this life. So, why do you have to study so hard? If you have that time, you might as well sleep more and eat more delicious food. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 645. Well, very good. It seems that seeing Joe has put in a lot of effort in private. Everyone else should follow suit and learn from it. Don't think that your parents and ancestors are all powerful people in the court, so you can rest on your laurels. As the saying goes, the mountains will fall, the water will flow, only if you truly master your skills can you be invincible in the world. I understand, master. The students replied weakly. It's just that what I'm thinking is completely different. Master Wang was also helpless in his heart, that's all. Since they didn't listen to the advice, no matter how much he said, it would be useless. He was just a teacher, he just had to do his job well, and he couldn't care about much else. When the bell rang for get out of class, everyone suddenly became restless. However, he was frightened by the majesty of the prince and did not dare to act rashly. Okay, that's it for today's lesson. After you go back, each of you will write an article with the title "A Gentleman Values His Integrity" and hand it in tomorrow. Hearing the wailing behind him, Mrs. Wang felt an inexplicable sense of relief in her heart, and the corners of her mouth curled up. Pei Fei and Joda immediately gathered around Goose Whitting. Guju, I'll leave the homework assigned by master just now to you. Don't let your brother down. Pei Fei patted Goose Whitting on the shoulder. Joda is much better than him, Guju, let's go, I'll treat you to braised food. After you finish eating, I'll leave my brother's homework to you. Joda's mother is from the Gu family. In terms of seniority, she is Goose Whitting's aunt, so the two are cousins. Joda calls himself brother, not to take advantage of Goose Whitting. Xiao Shunzi had already received Joda's instructions and waited in an open space at the back of the classroom. There is a huge spruce pine planted here, with a stone table and bench underneath. A small group of 3 people often gather here. Because of their status, no one else dared to come here. Over time, this place became their own territory. After sitting down, Joda opened the oil paper bag, and the aroma immediately overflowed. He directly picked up a large piece of bone and gnawed it with gusto. Upon seeing this, Goose Whitting and Pei Fei also tasted the ones they were interested in. After this taste, the result can be imagined. Taste buds were captured instantly. Hey, why do you eat so fast? Leave some for me. Joda couldn't help feeling a little regretful, and hurriedly protected an oil paper bag and refused to let go. Goose Whitting and Pei Fei looked at each other, scratched his creaks, and successfully snatched the oil paper bag away. The 3 of them were eating happily, and Shenyazi, who was counting money when he got home, was also very happy. She was originally worried that the braised food would not be sold. Although the taste of homemade braised food is indeed unparalleled, good stuff may not necessarily sell well. But now it seems that her worries are unfounded. In just one morning, the 2 large pots of braised meat in Shen Xing's load were all sold out. Customers who didn't buy it felt very sorry and told them to come back tomorrow. In the main room, Shen Xing held the rope for Shen Yizi and watched her string the copper coins up one by one. A bunch of 100 coins, and there are 7 or 8 bunches piled next to it. In the end, there were some scattered copper coins left, and Shen Yizi left them alone. A total of 2 taels, 3 coins and 58 coins, excluding the cost of 2 taels, we made a total of 358 coins. Ha! Shen Xing was surprised and happy. Really? That's great. We don't have to go hungry anymore. He used to run errands for people in hotels. At the end of the day, if he was lucky, he would have more than 10 or 20 cents. If he was unlucky, he might not have a single copper penny and could only take home scraps. But now, not only do they live in a big house, but my sister has worshipped a powerful master, and my mother has taken medicine for it, and she has never coughed again in the past few days. They also made so much money with their craftsmanship. If this continues, they might be able to have their own house in the future, and he can save a generous dowry for Zhizi. Shen Xing became happier and happier as he thought about it, and couldn't help but giggle. Mrs. Shen looked amused and sad, and touched his head. Xiao Xing, you have been busy all morning, are you hungry? I boiled a few eggs on the stove, and you ate them to fill your stomach. And Zhizi, you woke up so early in the morning, are you tired? Go and sleep for a while after eating the eggs. I will wake you up at noon. After eating the eggs, the brother and sister were driven back to their respective rooms to rest by Mrs. Shen. She continued to do embroidery work in the corridor. In the blink of an eye, a month has passed, and the Shen family's braised food stall has already gained a reputation. Customers flock to the stall every day as soon as it opens, and they buy up all the braised food in a blink of an eye, without any need to shout. The brother and sister made a lot of money as a result, and they had fun counting money every day. On this day, when closing the stall, Shen Xing said to the guests, "Dear uncles, aunts, and sisters-in-law, we will not go out to set up a stall tomorrow." Huh, why? Hey, is there any need to ask? Tomorrow is the Qingming festival whose family doesn't have many deceased relatives who need to pay homage. Shen Xing nodded. Yes, tomorrow our family is going to visit graves outside the city. It rains heavily during the Qingming festival, and pedestrians on the road feel like they are dying. However, the actual situation is not at all what is described in the poem. God is very powerful today and it is a sunny day. The sun is warm and makes people feel very comfortable. There are many people outing on the road, as well as children flying kites, kicking shuttlecocks, and playing kazhu. In Shen Yizi's view, the Qingming festival here is not only a festival to remember the ancestors, but also a day for living people to take the opportunity to relax and have fun. Shen Yizi kept the map open along the way, and she did find a few small treasures. Unfortunately, they were either in public or in other people's graveyards, so she couldn't dig them out, so she had to give up. This made her feel a little depressed when she went back. Shen also looked very worried and didn't notice it for a while. Shen Xing, on the other hand, was a boy, and his mind was not so delicate and sensitive. He was quite happy along the way. He pulled branches from the willow tree on the roadside, made a ring, and put it on Shen Yizi's head. At this moment, a horse rushed from behind like crazy, and the people on the horse shouted, "Get out of the way." He himself could not control the horse, so he could only try his best to let pedestrians dodge. Shen Xing reacted quickly and immediately pushed Shen Shi and Shen Yizi aside. When Crazy Horse passed by, Shen Xing recognized him. It was Mr. Gu who had helped him. At that moment, following his innermost thoughts, he suddenly stepped forward and hit the horse's head with his fist. In the past month, he has eaten well and slept well every day. He has grown taller and stronger. He doesn't know how far he can reach it and whether he can control the crazy horse. But Mr. Gu once I helped him, but now he is in trouble, and he can't just sit back and watch. So, he took action. At that moment, time seemed to be slowed down. Crazy Horse's head was dented by the impact, and he leaned heavily. He continued to run forward for a while, and then suddenly fell to the ground. Gu sitting on the horse took the opportunity to jump off, except I was a little frightened, but not seriously injured. The crazy horse neighed twice, foamed at the mouth and fell completely. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 646. Gu Switting made a deep bow to Shen Xing. Thank you little brother for saving your life. Shen Xing hurriedly went to help him. Mr. Gu, you have helped me before. Stop giving such a big gift. At this time, both Pei Fei and Joda rushed over. They quickly dismounted and ran to Gu Switting. They pulled him and looked him up and down. Guju, are you okay? Joda's face turned pale. That horse was originally mine, but who would have thought? Today is the Qingming festival, and ordinary bosses have to go out of the city to pay homage to their ancestors, and the royal family members are no exception. Early in the morning, the Royal Honor Guard sets off to the Imperial Mausoleum. The royal family's sacrificial process was lengthy and solemn, and it seemed to Gu Switting and the others that it was too boring, so they secretly slipped out on horseback and wanted to stroll around nearby. That crazy horse was originally Joda's mount, but Gu Switting did not ride a horse this time, but rode a carriage, so Joda gave his horse to him and took one from the guard. Who would have thought that the horse would go crazy without any problems? If Gu Switting hadn't handled it properly, he would have been thrown off by the crazy horse, and would have been seriously injured even if he didn't die. If it were Joda, the consequences would be even more serious, because Joda is a bit fat and his movements are not as flexible as Gu Switting's. I'm fine, thanks to this little brother for saving me, Gu Switting said sideways. So it's you, Pei Fei said in surprise when he saw Shen Xing and punched him in the chest. You saved Guju, you are my Pei Fei's brother. If anything happens in the future, just come to me. Joda's focus is, aren't you the owner of the braised food stall? This month, Jodake has been frequenting braised food stalls and is very familiar with Shen Xing. Shen Xing scratched the back of his head and smiled naively at the three of them. Gu Switting bowed formally to Mr. Shen again. Brother Shen saved my life today, I will definitely come to thank you someday. Shen said warmly, Master Gu, you are serious. Even if Xiao Xing doesn't take action, someone will always take action to save you. Gu Switting smiled slightly and was non-committal. Seeing Shen Yazi, who was held in Shen's arms, looking at him with a pair of big round eyes, he felt something strange in his heart. He subconsciously smiled at her, took off a Pisces pendant he had with him, and handed it to her. She said, let's play with it. Shen hesitated for a moment, then motioned to Shen Yazi to put it away. On the way back, Shen didn't say a word. Shen Yazi and Shen Xing exchanged glances. After returning home, Mrs. Shen sat down on the chair at the top of the hall. Her first words were, Xiao Xing, kneel down. Even though Shen Xing didn't understand, he still knelt down without saying a word. Shen Yazi, taking advantage of his young age, took Shen's hand and asked, Mom, did little Xing do something wrong? Shen, Xiao Xing, tell me, what did you do wrong? Shen Xing, he doesn't know either. Racking his brains to recall what he had done today, he suddenly realized something and felt that he might have thought about where his mother was angry. Mother, Mr. Gu has helped me before, I can't just sit back and do nothing. Shen Shi sighed, Mom, I don't blame you for saving people, but, Have you ever thought about what Zhi and I would do if you failed to save people and got yourself involved instead? Shen Xing lowered his head and said, Mom, I didn't think much about it at the time. He knelt down in front of Mrs. Shen and said, Mom, I was wrong. I will definitely not take action casually next time. Mrs. Shen stroked his head. It's not that Mom doesn't want you to save people, but she wants you to consider the consequences before saving people. You are a good boy, but you are a little impulsive in doing things. Okay, get up. Don't hurt your knees. 2 days later, Gu Swiding came to the door with his servants and brought a cart full of gifts. In addition to expressing his gratitude, he also proposed that he would like Shen Xing to come to work by his side. In this era, there was no imperial examination system. The imperial courts elected talents either through recommendation or through shadowing, which meant inheriting official titles, connections, etc. from their fathers. However, the latter method was only applicable to the children of aristocratic families. Ordinary people who want to get ahead can only choose to join a high-ranking family, and then enter the officialdom through the recommendation of powerful and prestigious people. As the direct grandson of the Gu family, Gu Swiding's future has been paved for a long time. All he has to do is wait for him to grow up and follow the path arranged for him by his elders step by step. In this process, he also needs to cultivate his own people. Shen Xing's action of knocking down Crazy Horse and saving him the day before yesterday left a deep impression on him. He decided to recruit him at that time. However, in the past 2 days, he had not been able to take care of the investigation of Crazy Horse. Today, he was able to escape and he immediately came to the door. Visited. Shen Xing was naturally very happy and almost jumped up on the spot. If you can work with Gu Swiding, the benefits will undoubtedly be huge. If nothing else, at least no one will dare to point fingers at their family because they don't have an adult man. He almost agreed immediately, but at least he restrained himself and looked at Shen inquiringly. Gu Swiding also looked over. He always felt that the woman in front of him had some unusual temperament like that of a city woman. Facing Shen Xing's earnest eyes, Mrs. Shen could hardly say no, but it was only almost. In order to avoid exposing her identity, Shen Xing had better not get too close to those members of the aristocratic family. Thank you Mr. Gu for your respect for Xiao Xing. It's just that Xiao Xing is only 8 years old. He is used to Xiao and has no rules. If he follows you, if he offends the noble man, the result may be unbearable for the little woman. I hope you can forgive me. Gu Swiding couldn't help but be surprised after hearing her words. Looking at Shen Xing's size, he thought he was at least 13 or 14 years old, but he didn't expect that he was only 8 years old, which was indeed too young. And what Shen said later is not unreasonable. Although he is the direct grandson of the Gu family, there are still many people who want to do harm to him and cannot touch him. Those people may start with the people around him. If Shen Xing comes to his side, he will bear the brunt of difficulties from all sides. Thinking of this, Gu Swiding had no choice but to give up. I didn't think carefully about the boat trip. He handed Shen Xing a small rosewood plaque. If brother Shen has anything to do in the future, just come to me with this wooden plaque. After saying that, he didn't stay any longer and said goodbye and left. Shen Xing took a look at the wooden sign and saw no flowers. Seeing that Shen Yazi was curious, he simply handed it to her. Zizi, please keep it for me. After the incident of hiding the gold hairpin earlier, Shen Xing has now become accustomed to letting Shen Yazi take care of the valuables at home, without treating her like an ignorant 4-year-old girl. Of course, Shen Yazi is not a real 4-year-old girl. She has lived up to Shen Xing's trust every time. She has hidden things for him so that no one can find them, and she can take them out immediately when she needs them. Xiao Xing, my mother won't let you go to Mr. Gu's side. You won't blame your mother in your heart, right? Mrs. Shen touched Shen Xing's head. Shen Xing shook his head. Why should I blame you, mother? I know you must be doing it for my own good. If you don't want to go, just don't go. It's no big deal. If I go, won't our braised food stall not be able to open? As soon as these words came out, Mrs. Shen couldn't help but be amused by him. She sighed with a smile and murmured, "It's good that fools are lucky." Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 647. The World of Cultivating Immortals, Yuxiao Sect. Mi Yang opened her eyes in a cave with a faint aura. After communicating with the reincarnation disk for a while, she learned about her identity and situation in this life, the daughter of the leader of the Yuxiao sect, the largest sect in the world of immortality. Very good, she likes it very much. Let her experience the life of a righteous monk as a succubus, ha ha ha, is there anything more dramatic than this? The most important thing is that this time she felt the abundant power in her body. No longer have to be like a helpless mortal like in previous lives. Mi Yang couldn't help laughing. However, she soon stopped laughing because the reincarnation disc told her that Gu Switting was not in the same realm as her. This is actually not accurate. Geographically, the world of immortality and the secular world are still on the same continent. However, in order to practice better, the monks isolated the mountains and rivers with rich spiritual energy and set up spatial boundaries, separated from the world of mortals. In this way, once a monk enters the world of immortality, he is completely separated from the secular world. Of course, this space boundary will be opened every once in a while. After all, the world of immortality still needs to go to the secular world to replenish fresh blood. There are still 3 years until the next time the major sects of cultivating immortals will enter the mortal world to recruit disciples. 3 years, for a person who cultivates immortality, is just a snap of the fingers. It may pass by just meditating. But for ordinary people, 3 years is not a short period of time. Mi Yang was afraid that Gu Switting and Shen Yizi would get together again in the past 3 years. Samsara Pan, don't worry, Shen Yizi is only 4 years old now, and will only be 7 years old even in 3 years. A 7-year-old girl, unless Gu Switting is a pervert, will never have any thoughts about her. Hearing this, Mi Yang felt relieved, but she was still a little worried. This worry came from the unreliability of the reincarnation disc. She had been frightened by it in her previous lives. She lowered her eyes and considered the possibility of asking her father to open the boundaries of space now, but the result was impossible. Although her father, Sect Master Xiao, loved her very much in this life and almost obeyed her in everything, opening the boundaries of space was a major event in the entire world of immortality. Sect Master Xiao would never obey her just because of her coquettishness. Furthermore, even if sect leader Xiao really couldn't stand it and agreed to her request, he couldn't do it. Opening the space boundary requires the joint efforts of at least 3 monks in the out-of-body stage. Sect Master Xiao can't do it alone. He dotes on his daughter, and others won't follow him around. So after thinking about it, she has no other choice but to wait for the next time she recruits a disciple. That's it, just wait. The sun and the moon flowed by, time flew by, and 3 years passed in a flash. It's spring again. In the small courtyard of the Shen family, the 7-year-old Shen Yizi, wearing a tender pink skirt, was lying next to the cradle, teasing his little brother who was only a few months old inside. The younger brother's nickname is Suziling and Xiao Liu. You can tell whose son he is from his name. A year ago, Mrs. Shen was finally moved by Suyu, and with the support and blessings of Shen Xing and Shen Yizi, she married him. However, after getting married, Mrs. Shen still lived in the current small courtyard. Suyu moved his things here and completely used the original house as a studio. He only went there when he wanted to research prescriptions. Normally, just basically stay here. The family gets along very harmoniously. Today Shen Xing is still managing the braised food business, but compared with 3 years ago, Shenji braised food has become famous in the capital. Many people line up before dawn every day to buy it, for fear that they will not be able to buy it if it is too late. Shenxing's good friend Maisie helps in the store, and his sister Zhu'er also becomes Shenyazi's playmate. Their drunkard father slipped and fell into a ditch and drowned after being drunk, leaving behind Pearl, mother and son. If that was all, that was all. The drunkard also left behind a lot of debts during his lifetime, and those creditors after his death they came to the door and asked the mother and son to pay back the money. Where can Mrs. Zhu'er get the money? The creditors were about to take Zhu'er and her son away and sell them into a brothel. Maisie tried his best to stop them but still couldn't stop them. When he was desperate, he thought of Shenxing. After moving to Qingping Lane, Shenxing did not lose contact with Maisie, a good friend, and sometimes would send him some homemade braised food. When Maisie came to the door and explained the situation, Shenxing took the money without saying a word, went to find her, and redeemed Zhu'er's mother and Zhu'er. Mrs. Shen lent money to Zhu'er's mother, helped them rent a small yard, and finally settled down. She also hired mother and son to work at home. Zhu'er's mother and Maisie helped Shenxing manage the braised food business. The two families were not far apart. When Zhu'er's mother and Maisie were working, Zhu'er came to play with Shenyazi. After Zhu'er's mother and Maisie finished work, she came to take Zhu'er back. Now, Zhu'er's family of 3 has no worries about food and clothing, and has saved a sum of money. The days are getting more and more promising. Shenyazi is learning medical skills from Suyu. She is not bragging. She feels that she must have been a doctor with extraordinary medical skills in her previous life. She knows a lot about medicine at a glance. She doesn't need to study at all, as if she is born with it. Such talent allowed her to make rapid progress in studying medicine, and Suyu often lamented that she was a genius in studying medicine. At night, Shenyazi followed his Taoist master to learn Taoist magic. Of course, this is just an illusion to the outside world. In fact, she exchanged the cultivation techniques from them all and taught herself. However, the amazing thing is that in terms of cultivation, she can actually learn it without a teacher, and she can understand many things at a glance. The only thing that makes her frustrated is that the spiritual energy in this world is very thin. She has practiced for 3 years, and now she can't. It's just a breakthrough to the 3rd level of qi refining. This is still in the context of occasional drug use. However, this world is an ordinary mortal world. Although there are some legends of immortals, she has never seen any immortals, so she is not that urgent about improving her strength. Take your time, she is not practicing to compete with others, but more to strengthen her body. Oh, by the way, there's also beauty treatments. Her current body is already small and still developing. After practicing, her cute and delicate facial features have become more and more charming, beautiful, and cute. She is like a little fairy. She can't bear to look in the mirror. Live and be cute by yourself. Now that life at home is getting better and there is nothing to worry about, her mother even gave birth to a little bun for her to play with. Shenyazi feels that life now couldn't be better. If the world she lives in is a book, then this book must be a flow of daily life. However, sometimes life often takes an unexpected turn. It was promised to be a novel about daily life, but suddenly it was changed into a novel about cultivating immortals. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 648. The grand ceremony for recruiting disciples, which is held every 30 years, has arrived. The various sects in the world of immortality have sent their representatives. After coming out of the boundary of space, they fly away on flying magic weapons and go to different directions to recruit disciples. Because of Mi Yang's intervention, the Yuxiao sect went straight towards Bianliang, the capital of Deu. The spirit boat traveled for about 10 days and reached the sky above Bianliang. The spirit boat was in the clouds above, at least several thousand meters above the ground, so no one on the ground noticed it. Yuxiaozong led the team this time, a man named Chen Xian, who was from Mi Yang's uncle's generation. He lowered the spirit boat directly above the palace. At this time, the spring banquet of the Shangxi festival on March 3 was being held in the palace. A huge ship just fell from the sky, casting a huge shadow on the ground. All the guards outside the palace were shocked, and they quickly ran into the palace to report. The emperor was stunned for a few moments and then hurriedly stood up from his seat and came outside the main hall, followed by the rest of the people. Everyone was shocked when they saw the huge boat hovering in mid-air. The emperor couldn't help but think of the words that the late emperor held his hand and told him repeatedly before his death, "Your Majesty, there are immortals in this world. I have seen them when I was young. The immortals came down from the sky on a boat. That I will never forget the scene in my life. When you see an immortal in the future, you must be respectful and never offend an immortal." That's because he thought his father was sick and confused. Where did the immortal come from in this world? Even before his death, his father still had dreams of immortals. Who knew there really were immortals in this world? The current situation is not exactly the same as what the father described. Chen Xian stepped out of the spirit boat and walked down step by step. He was a golden elixir stage monk and could fly in the air. This move completely shocked everyone present, and many people knelt down on the spot, calling out to the immortal. The emperor was still stable, but his knees were a little weak. He stepped forward quickly and said in a sincere and respectful tone, "I wonder why the immortal is here." "Chen Xiandao, you are the emperor here, right?" "Exactly." Chen Xian introduced himself, "I am Chen Xian, the Yuxiao sect of the immortal realm. You can call me Master Chen." His tone was calm, not as domineering or disdainful as the emperor thought. This made the emperor and everyone present the nervous and fearful mood could not help but ease a bit. Then he took out a jade box from his sleeve and handed it over. In the jade box were several bottles of elixirs. To monks, they were just low-level elixirs. But when mortals took them, they had the effects of strengthening the body and cultivating the body. It has the effect of lightening the body, keeping fit and prolonging life. These elixirs are of great benefit to mortals, please accept them. The emperor accepted it with surprise and joy. "Thank you, Master. If Master, you have instructions, I will have them done right now." In front of the monks, he automatically changed his usual self-identification. Chen Xian said, "The reason why I came out this time is to recruit disciples. Children over 6 years old and under 18 years old can come for the test. If there are children who meet the requirements, I will take them to the sect later. I will teach you in the door. Since you are the emperor, please make an imperial announcement for me and publicize this matter." The emperor hurriedly agreed, "Don't worry, sir, I will issue the decree right away." On the spirit boat, Mi Yang saw Gu Switting in the crowd at a glance. He was only 15 years old now, and he was still a green young man, but his beauty was already showing in his features. You could imagine his peerless grace when he grows up in the future. This was the first time she saw such young Gu Switting, and she couldn't help but feel a little strange, so she stared at it for a longer time. Gu Switting seemed to be aware of it, and raised his head to look at the spirit boat in mid-air. "Seeing Zhou, I didn't expect that there really are immortals in this world. We happen to be of the same age. Is it possible for you and me to be chosen?" Pei Fei asked excitedly. Hearing no response, Pei Fei followed his gaze and looked up, unable to help but be stunned for a moment. Such a big ship could actually float in mid-air, which was a big shock to him. With the imperial edict, the news that the immortal came to accept disciples spread throughout Bianliang city in less than an hour. Shen family. Shen Yazi was feeding egg custard to his younger brother, Little Carp. The little carp was sitting in the walker. After eating a mouthful, a small red mouth immediately opened and waited for feeding. Shen Yazi put the spoon to his mouth and then deliberately withdrew it and ate it himself. Well, The custard was smooth and tender, quite delicious, but a little bland. The little carp was so anxious that it was about to open its mouth and howl. Shenyazi hurriedly put the egg custard to his mouth before he cried. The little guy who had eaten the egg custard immediately swallowed his cry and ate the egg custard obediently, which made Shenyazi laugh. This snack foodie. Just when she was having fun teasing her brother, Shen Xing ran back. Mom, Uncle Su, Zhizi, an immortal has come to accept a disciple. This news was like a thunder on the ground, causing several people inside and outside the house to be stunned. What does it mean that an immortal has come to accept a disciple? After Shen Xing's detailed explanation, a few people figured out what was going on. Mom, Zhizi, and I are both of the same age. Do you think we should give it a try? How could an 11-year-old boy not have fantasies about immortals flying into the sky and escaping from the earth? In the eyes of men, whether they are 10 or 80 years old, riding a flying sword whizzing around in the air is the greatest romance, right? Shenyazi also looked at Ms. Shen expectantly, waiting for her approval. Sir, she also wants to meet him. The little carp hadn't been fed for a long time and was about to cry. Shen took the egg custard from Shenyazi's hand and said, "Let your Uncle Su take you there." The test was held at the Chind Gate, the north gate of the imperial city. When Shenyazi and others arrived, a long queue had already formed in front of the Chind Gate. There were guardsmen nearby to maintain order. Shen Xing led her and stood at the end of the line. Suyu was not allowed to enter because he was an adult, so he could only stand outside like other parents. The test went very quickly, and the team was moving forward all the time. Suddenly, a man in front was taken away by two guards. A higher-ranking guard pointed at the man and said loudly, "Do you know why he was taken away?" This man lied about his age, but he was actually over 18 years old. Not only did he commit the crime of deceiving the emperor, he also deceived the immortal and prevented the immortal from recruiting disciples. Let me tell you, the immortal has his own way of measuring a person's bone age. This cannot be deceived. Therefore, I advise those who lie about their age in an attempt to fish in troubled waters to quit on their own. If they are found out again, they will not take it lightly. Rao. As soon as these words came out, several people in the team actually quit in disgrace. The Imperial Guard who just spoke snorted coldly, "The immortal's methods are not something you and I, ignorant mortals, can predict. You'd better be honest." After queuing for about half an hour, we arrived at Shenyazi. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 649. There was a half-person high table in front of her, with two young men in white clothes sitting on the left and right. The young man on the left first checked the bone age of Shenyazi, 7 years and 5 months. How can it be accurate to the month? This bone-touching technique is a bit cool. After touching the bones, the young man on the right waved to her, "Little sister, come to me." Perhaps it was because she was young and cute, so the young man was very kind to her. "Here, put your hand up." The young man pointed to a jade tablet in the shape of a gossip on the table. Although Shenyazi had already started practicing, she had not tested her spiritual roots. Before exchanging the exercises, she had no concept of cultivating only if you have spiritual roots. After exchanging the exercises, she started practicing step by step. Didn't encounter any problems. Thinking about it now, she couldn't help but feel a little scared. If she didn't have spiritual roots, wouldn't the skills be redeemed in vain? But the fact that she is able to practice proves that she has spiritual roots, but she doesn't know what kind of roots they are. Thinking like this, she put her hand up. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds later, there was no response from the Bhagavad jade tablet. Shenyazi looked at the young man in confusion, and the young man said regretfully, "Little sister, you have no spiritual roots." In fact, he quite hoped to have such a well-behaved and cute little junior sister. Shen Yizi frowned and looked at the Bagua jade tablet. "Isn't this thing broken? Otherwise, why can't it be measured? However, there are so many people waiting for the test, and she cannot raise her questions and ask for another test. If she insists that she has spiritual roots, and others ask her how she knows, how will she answer? Forget it, she knew she could practice anyway, so what was the big deal whether she went to the Yuxiao sect or not? The reason why she came here was mainly because she wanted to see what the legendary immortal looked like. Now that she has seen it, she found that they are actually no different from ordinary people. They all have one pair of eyes, two nostrils, and one mouth. The only difference is that they have practiced kung fu and know some magic spells that ordinary people think are magical. Shen Yizi stood aside, waiting for Shen Xing's test results. The boy who touched the bones thought he had touched the wrong bones for the first time. The boy in front of him who was taller than himself was actually only 11 years old. He touched it again, and the result was still the same, the bone age is 11 years. Shen Xing's age gave the two teenagers a slight surprise, but when his spiritual roots came out, they were shocked. When Shen Xing put his hand on the Bagua jade tablet, a burst of dazzling golden light burst out from the jade tablet. Gold-type heavenly spiritual root. Such an excellent talent is not common or even rare in the world of immortality. I didn't expect to encounter one in this mortal world. What's your name? The boy who conducted the test asked eagerly. Shen Xing. The young man asked a few more questions. Okay, would you like to follow us to Yuxiao sect to practice immortality? Shen Xing subconsciously looked at Shen Yizi and hesitated. I don't know either. I have to ask my mother. Okay, take this communication talisman. If you are willing to go with us, crush this communication talisman. We will pick you up then. You go back and think about it carefully. We will stay here for about 3 days. Shen Xing took the messenger talisman and left with Shen Yizi in hand. The people at the back of the team looked at him with envy or jealousy. There is also some discordant disdain. In the eyes of the despisers, Shen Xing has such an excellent talent, but he still hesitates when he has the opportunity to cultivate immortality. If they had such a talent, they would have happily agreed. I can only say that everyone values different things. The two brothers and sisters who came out of Chind Gate looked like they had just come out of an important exam. Suyu waited eagerly outside the cordon. When he saw the two of them, he immediately stepped forward and bought the shortbread cookies he had bought from the vendor. Preserved fruits and other small snacks were passed over. Come, have something to eat. Shen Xing, who was still a little confused at first, immediately disappeared when he saw the worries about eating. He took the snack and ate it happily. Suyaki wanted to pick Shen Yizi up, but she refused. Uncle Su, I can walk by myself. She is not really a 7-year-old girl, so why would she have the nerve to let Sujaki hug her? Okay, but if Zizi is tired, she must tell her uncle. Suyu held her hand and walked slowly to match her speed. Xiao Xing, Gigi, it doesn't matter if you are not selected. There is more than one path to immortality in life. Seeing that neither brother nor sister were in high spirits, Suyu comforted him, guessing that they were not selected. Shen Yizi raised his head and said, Uncle Su, you guessed wrong. Little Xing was found to have a gold-type Tianling root. The two brothers who tested him rushed to take him back to the sect and gave him a piece of information. Talisman. Oh? Seriously? Tianligan is a unique talent, and it is the gold element that mainly attacks. It is most suitable for sword cultivation. Suyu was very happy for Shen Xing. Shen Yizi was moved after hearing his words. Uncle Su seemed to know a lot about cultivating immortals. What about Zizi? I haven't been tested for spiritual roots. Shen Yizi lowered his head and sighed. Actually, What she was sighing about was why it had not been detected, even though she clearly had spiritual roots. Sujakyo stopped and knelt down in front of her. You know, the world of cultivating immortals is full of intrigues, and female monks have a much harder time than male monks. It's not a good thing not to have spiritual roots, at least you don't have to get involved in the fights and killings among the monks. Sometimes, being ordinary is a blessing. Shenyazi agrees very much with this. She has no big ambitions, nor does she pursue anything grand. It would be great if she could spend her life peacefully. However, what Sujakyo said should be difficult for a real 7-year-old girl to understand, so she pretended to only understand it. Sujakyo touched her head and said, "It doesn't matter if you don't understand now, just remember what your uncle said." The three of them returned home, and Mrs. Shen had already prepared a meal and was waiting for them. Shen Xing quickly picked up a bowl of rice and slowed down a little when eating the second bowl. "Mom, I want to follow those immortal masters to practice immortal arts, but I can't bear to leave you." "Sujakyo, Xiao Xing, although we are family, we will be separated sooner or later. You have to think carefully about what you really want." Shen gave him a piece of braised pork with chopsticks. She didn't say anything more, but just warned him, "Eat slowly. If you eat too fast, you will accumulate food." "Shenyazi, little Xing, if you want to go, just go. You don't have to worry about your family, and it's not like you won't come back after you go to practice immortality. We will always be here. When you have learned something, you can come back to visit us." Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 650. Shen Xing was enlightened by Shenyazi's words. Yes, he was only leaving home temporarily to cultivate immortality, and it was not like he would never come back for the rest of his life. 3 days later, Shenyazi and his family all went to see Shen Xing off and took him to the gate of Gate. Going further inside, it would be beyond their reach. At the same time, Gu Swiding was in the palace, saying goodbye to a group of elders and friends. Gu Swiding was found to have a rare spatial spiritual root and was leaving with Chen Xian and the others. Yuxiao sect only selected 2 disciples this time, one is Shen Xing who has the metal spiritual root, and the other is Gu Swiding who has the space spiritual root. In fact, in this test, they were not the only ones who were found to have spiritual roots. However, the Yuxiao sect has always adhered to the philosophy that the essence is more valuable than the many. The disciples in the sect are all the proud ones selected from a million, so it is also only Gu Swiding and Shen Xing were noticed by them. The remaining 3 spiritual roots and 4 spiritual roots were not even considered at all. Double spiritual roots are also good, but this time the dual spiritual roots were not detected. As for the 5 spiritual roots, in their eyes, they are no different from ordinary people. It is estimated that a lifetime of cultivation is just a chi refining period, so it is better to just be immortal with peace of mind. After Shen Xing entered the palace, a young took him under the spirit boat. When Chen Xian saw that the people had arrived, he said, "Okay, let's go." Hand in hand, they took Gu Swiding and Shen Xing into the spirit boat. "Ah, I'm flying." Shen Xing was a little panicked at first, but after experiencing the benefits of volleying, she became excited. Unfortunately, before he had enough experience, Chen Xian had already landed on the deck. Mi Yang came over and took the initiative to greet the 2 of them. "Hello, 2 junior brothers, I am Xiao Lizu. With your joining our Yuxiao sect in the future, I will no longer be the youngest one. In the future, you will have feel free to ask me any questions." Gu Swiding nodded lightly to her, and Shen Xing just glanced at her curiously, then stood aside holding the package. The smile on Mi Yang's face did not change. After all, there will be plenty of time in the future. "I'll take you to your room." Shenyazi's family of 3 returned home silently. Originally, Shenyazi was still a little sad because of Shen Xing's departure, but as soon as he entered the door, he heard the sound of the little carp crying loudly. He felt very distressed and anxious, and hurriedly ran in and took the little carp from Mother Zhuer's hand. "Little carp, don't cry, sister is here." Shenyazi held him and walked back and forth, bumping him gently, and talking to distract his attention. As expected, the little carp stopped crying quickly and was even amused by her. This made Mr. Shen feel a little bit dumbfounded. This kid still knows how to do it. On the spirit boat, Shen Xing stood on the deck, looking at Bianliang City, which was rapidly shrinking and finally being completely left behind. A burst of melancholy filled his heart. Senior brother Lu, is the Yuxiao sect far away from Bianliang? Lu Zi, the young man who presided over the test of spiritual roots before, said, "It is out of reach for mortals, but for monks, it is nothing. The spiritual boat we are on now can fly for more than 10 days. Rush back to the section." Shen Xing has already felt the speed of the spirit boat. It is estimated that it can travel no less than 10,000 miles in one day. How far is it in 10 days? He suddenly realized a question: if I want to go home, how long will it take to get there? Lu Ziyi gave him a funny look. After you enter the sect, you are not allowed to leave the sect before you reach the foundation building stage. When you reach the foundation building stage, you will be able to fly with a sword. If you have a sword, you don't have to walk on two legs like a mortal. You can't leave the sect until you break through the foundation establishment stage. Then, senior brother Lu, how long did it take you to reach the foundation establishment stage? Shen Xing had already been taught common sense about the world of immortality by Lu Ziyi before, and knew what the foundation establishment stage was like. Lu Ziyi said in a calm tone, 8 years. Who would have thought that? Shen Xing immediately exploded after hearing this. 8 years. So long. I want to get off the ship, I want to go home. Of course, he has already boarded the boat, how can we let him off the boat again? Shen Xing felt completely wilted. He never expected that it would take at least 8 years before he could go down the mountain and return home. Looking at his shocked look, Lu Ziyi couldn't bear to tell him that not everyone could break through to the foundation building stage in just 8 years. In cultivation, talent is important, but character, perseverance, chance, etc. are also factors that cannot be ignored. It can be said that cultivating immortality is a very metaphysical matter, and whether you can achieve anything depends entirely on fate and luck. In order to break through to the foundation building stage as soon as possible, Shen Xing stopped wasting time wandering around on the boat and began to work hard to learn about immortal cultivation from his uncles and brothers, and meditated every day to absorb spiritual energy. Goose Whitting started doing this as early as the first day. His sleep at night has been replaced by practice. During the day, apart from eating, drinking, and having diarrhea, he also spends most of the rest of his time in practice. Adapted well to cultivating immortals. However, his behavior left Mi Yang, who had been preparing for a long time, no place to show off. However, she silently cheered herself up in her heart, not to act too hastily, as it would be easy to make mistakes. Once he entered the Yuxiao sect, Goose Whitting would not be able to get out for decades. And this time without Shenyazi to disrupt the situation, she didn't believe that she couldn't defeat him after such a long time. Asterisk. 10 years later. Yuxiao sect, above the main peak. The calamity clouds gathered rapidly, and thunder loomed in the clouds. Although it had not yet taken shape, its scale was shocking. Which senior brother is going to survive the tribulation? This is the Golden Core Thunder Tribulation. How come it looks more terrifying to me than the nascent Soul Thunder Tribulation of my uncles? Disciples on the main peak and other peaks came out to watch. Being able to watch others go through tribulations is a rare blessing. Maybe you will gain some insights and make a breakthrough. There have been many such examples in the past. The person who overcame the tribulation was Goose Whitting. In just 10 years, he had cultivated from a mere mortal to about to break through the golden elixir stage. This cultivation speed is extremely fast. Boom! The black and purple thunder calamity, which was as thick as a bucket, crashed down with a bang, stabbing straight down, as if it was going to pierce the entire earth. The sound was huge and the power was even more frightening. The onlookers could not help but feel frightened. Many people put themselves in Goose Whitting's shoes and thought that if they were replaced by Goose Whitting, who was going through the tribulation, they might be chopped into pieces by the thunder tribulation. Thinking of this, those people couldn't help but step back. Although the thunder tribulation will not hit them at all. Such a huge golden elixir thunder tribulation is really unheard of. However, the more severe the thunder tribulation is, once it is successfully overcome, the benefits that will be obtained will be doubled. Everyone was deeply envious and jealous again. Mi Yang looked at Goose Whitting in the center of the thunder from afar, clenching her hands tightly into fists, seemingly worried about him, but in fact she hoped that he would fail to overcome the disaster. At the beginning, she was still too blindly confident in herself.